What is up, my dear friends and family? I'm Charmx, and today I'm going to be reacting to 5 terrifying facts about the legendary and mysterious Mothman by Top 5s. Now, I don't think this is going to be that creepy of a video, which, you know, Top 5s is known for making some very creepy videos, but I don't think this is going to be that creepy of a video, and I am a little bit familiar with Mothman, and if you aren't familiar with Mothman, I guess you're going to be learning about Mothman, and yeah, to say the least, it's quite interesting, and yeah, without any further ado, make sure you go subscribe to Top 5s, as well as go get their magazine if you're interested. The links are in the description, as well as the link to the original video. But with that being said, let's begin!
On November the 12th, 1966, 5 gravediggers in West Virginia witnessed a man-like bird flying over the trees. This was the first of many sightings of what would become known as the Mothman. The men in black were about.
What?
During the time of the Mothman sightings, Mary Heyer was a newspaper reporter for the Athens Messenger and managed their office in Point Pleasant. Her newspaper column was called Where the Waters Mingle, and in it she reported on odd occurrences in and around Point Pleasant, and was relentless in her search for the truth behind the Mothman sightings. She was also closely associated with author John Keel, who wrote the book The Mothman Prophecies, that was later turned into the highly fictionalized movie of the same name, starring Richard Gere.
I kind of want to see that movie now. I mean, I don't know how good it's going to be, but I kind of want to see it.
However, her newspaper articles and some of her bizarre claims seem to have drawn unwanted attention from the men in black. She alleges they paid several visits to her office in an attempt to stop her releasing more information. These terrifying ordeals began in 1967 when Mary was working late in her office and a very short man entered the room.
Like a midget? A little midget entered your room?
She described him as having large hypnotic eyes and not dressed for the weather. After studying a pen on her desk, the man laughed and then left. Mary had another run-in with the short man while walking to a car one night when he was just stood across the road looking at her, until a black car sped around the corner and picked him up. Another encounter was with a strange oriental man dressed in black who told her to stop researching the subjects of flying saucers. She also discovered that other men dressed in black suits were going around Point Pleasant claiming they were friends of her, and asking to photograph and interview people who witnessed UFOs or other paranormal activity during the Mothman years.
So the government, or some kind of, you know, section of the government, was trying to stop her from releasing information around the Mothman and UFOs? That's kind of crazy. Then again, she could be making it all up, as she is writing, you know, for a newspaper or whatever, and her whole, you know, segment is of weird things that were going on in the town, right? And if there isn't that much going on, what are you gonna do? You're gonna lose your job unless you know, make something up to try to keep it. So it could be real, or she could have been making it up to try to keep her job.
Mary died unexpectedly on February the 15th, 1970. She was just 54 years of age.
What'd she die from, though? Because at that age, you could die from a heart attack, you could die from, you know, an aneurysm, you could die from a lot of things unexpectedly.
Many people with links to the Mothman sightings died young and unexpectedly. Speaking of Mary's sudden death, after the first sighting of the Mothman in Point Pleasant in 1966, many believed he was some sort of prophetic creature who had come to warn the people of Point Pleasant of an impending disaster. This belief was strengthened when just over a year after the sighting, the Silver Bridge disaster occurred, taking 46 lives. However, few realised that in addition to these losses, there have been numerous other unexplained deaths of people who have had close links to the Mothman. These include Fred Freed, who died of a heart attack at just 53. At the time of his sudden death, he was working on a documentary about UFOs and the Mothman. Donald North, who supposedly saw the Mothman, died in a car crash in 1997. Conspiracy author Jim Keith, who was responsible for writing about a CIA connection to the first Mothman sighting in 1967, died at age 50 during a knee surgery. What? How do you die during a knee surgery? How does that happen? That is bizarre. Like the heart attack things, I can see that being possible easily.
I mean, I myself have had some heart problems recently, so I myself, fear of getting a heart attack, and I'm, in my early 20s. So a heart attack or like a stroke or aneurysm, those kinds of things are easy to believe. But dying from a knee surgery, like how does that happen? I mean, they're not operating up here, they're operating on your knees. That's bizarre.
Ivan T. Sanderson was a naturalist and cryptozoologist, and was a consultant to John Keel, author of the Mothman Prophecies, advising him on the natural history behind the Mothman sightings. Sanderson developed aggressive cancer and died in 1973, aged just 62. Now, these are just a fraction of the tragic deaths, with links to the Mothman incident, causing many to believe the Mothman curse is very real.
I think this kind of goes along the lines of the saying, correlation does not equal causation, which basically means just because these things have something in common doesn't mean that is the cause. Like if you've taken all the people who have eaten at McDonald's, and then, a certain percentage of them have died, you can't really blame McDonald's for it, as most people have eaten there. There are other things that will come into effect, like the cancer one. I think I heard recently that around, I think it's like half of people or something like that are gonna get cancer at some point in their life. So that's gonna be half of people. You can't say half of people have seen the Mothman and then blame the Mothman for the cancer. Do you understand what I'm saying? I mean, just because you've seen it doesn't mean that's, what caused it.
What do you think? There have been some crazy conspiracies linked to the Mothman. Over the years, the Mothman sighting has been blamed for a lot of tragic deaths and disasters, some of which we just mentioned, but others are more on the crazy side. For example, just days before the Chernobyl disaster, in April 1986, workers as well as residents of nearby Pripyat witnessed something strange in the days prior to the explosion. They reported seeing an unknown winged creature flying over the town and the nuclear plant. Those who witnessed it described it as a man-like bird with red eyes, and some came to refer to it as the Black Bird of Chernobyl. It's been suggested this is the same creature spotted perched on the Silver Bridge shortly before disaster struck at Point Pleasant.
That's crazy.
Another strange conspiracy linked to the Mothman followed the terrorist attacks on the World Trade Center on September the 11th, 2001. Rumours surfaced that onlookers reported seeing a large crane-like creature near the towers 5 days before the attack. Fast forward to August 2007, a bridge on the Interstate 35 in Minneapolis collapsed. 13 people were killed, and nearly 145 were injured. Shortly after, reports started to circulate that a Mothman-like figure had appeared near the bridge around a month before the tragedy.
Wait, what? Okay, that doesn't really make much sense, If you saw the Mothman, why would you wait until, like, a disaster and then say, oh, I saw him? If you saw that kind of creature, you think you would report it to the police, like, as soon as possible, not a month later, right? That doesn't make any sense. Because right here, it sounds as if people started reporting that they saw the Mothman after the incident had already happened. So it almost sounds as if some of the claims of people seeing him were made up after an incident already happens. If you report it before an incident happens, that's one thing, but afterwards, it just seems as if you're trying to get attention almost.
The sightings caused Mothman believers to theorize that it could be a paranormal entity rather than a cryptic creature. And as well as the Silver Bridge collapse, was seen as a warning of impending disaster.
That's freaky, that image right there.
Theories on what Mothman could be. Although lots has been written about the Mothman in books and newspapers, the truth is, no one knows exactly what it was, or if it was even real. One theory is that it was nothing more than a bird, in particular a barn owl, as this is the closest fit to the description. It has a huge wingspan when fully extended, and will appear much larger than it actually is. Its eyes are known to look red when light is flashed across them, and they do make a gut-wrenching screeching sound, similar to that described by the original Mothman witnesses.
That sounds like it was probably the barn owl thing, right? It sounds like it matches the description almost perfectly, and then at the same time, the way it's drawn looks like an owl, like with its wings all up and everything, right?
There has also been suggestions it was a crane, or possibly a great blue heron.
No, I don't.
Both birds are large, with huge wingspans, beady eyes, and long legs.
But they don't sound like how the Mothman was described to sound like, except for the owl, so I think it's more likely the owl.
Another possibility is a low-flying plane that became distorted in the dark, and the witnesses convinced themselves it was something more sinister.
Nah.
Or it could have even been an elaborate hoax, stoked up by the media and the residents of Point Pleasant.
Yeah, you see, that's possible, it being a hoax, but it being a plane, no. Planes don't perch on top of buildings, okay? Owls do.
In particular, a guy called Gray Baker, who brought the Mothman to the wider audience in 1970. He was known to exploit these type of sightings for financial gain when he realised their massive public appeal.
Oh,
I'd love to hear your thoughts on who or what you think the Mothman was.
So a guy who was known to blow things out of proportion in order to get money wrote about the Mothman. It sounds as if that's quite possible that he did, you know, blow it out of proportion. Just because he was known to do it and he ended up, you know, writing about the Mothman. And the Mothman is quite popular and quite famous, so he probably made a lot of money off of it. So it really seems as if that person did take advantage of whatever the sighting was. It might have just been an owl, and then that guy wrote about it and blew it out of proportion in order to financially gain from it. Anyway, guys, that's it for this video. I hope you liked it. I'm gonna leave the last one, so if you want to go check it out, make sure you go check the original link in the description. But yeah, let me know what you think of the Mothman, because from what I've seen here, it really sounds as if it was like an owl that some people saw, and that person from like a newspaper picked up on the story and blew it out of proportion. That's what I think it probably was. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, possibly share it with a friend if you're new, and subscribe to join the family today. Also, make sure you go subscribe to Top 5s, that link's in the description, and I'll see you guys next time.